Learning how to write a poem is debatably one of the hardest forms of creative writing to master. There are so many rules, but at the same time, no rules at all. Confusing, right? Despite the challenge, writing poetry is a very fulfilling creative venue. And today, we'll try to explore how we can nail this art form. First is, you have to think of a topic. What to write about? The first step in any poem is coming up with something to write about. Don't feel that you have to choose profound or poetic material. Anything can be a subject for a poem. Great poems have been written about such topics as a gas station, a clothesline full of laundry, and pieces of broken glass on the beach. So anything or even anyone can be a topic. It's easiest to write a good poem about something you know well, that you have experienced firsthand, or that you have nearby so that you can observe it carefully. This is because what makes the poem profound and interesting will be the hidden details or qualities you discover, or what the subject reminds you of, your unique perspective. With poems, as with other things, so I hear, it's not the size that matters, it's what you do with it. So what if you would like to talk about abstract things like feelings and emotions? How can you observe and describe something that can actually be seen or heard? Here are some suggestions. First, think of like looking at the wind through a window. You can't see the wind, right? The wind is invisible. But at the same time, you can see the wind because of its impact on the things that are visible. You see the leaves flapping, you see the surface of a pond ripple, you see a girl with her hair blowing into her face, and you see someone try to light a cigarette and the match go out. Abstractions like love and death don't look, sound, or smell like anything, but they affect everything around them. And you can describe the places they touch. Second, make it specific. Instead of love, for example, write about the love between my parents. Then try making it even more specific. The love between my parents and the silent ways it shows itself when they are eating dinner together. Try relating it to a certain person, place, or event. Love, death, anger, beauty, these concepts do not occur in a vacuum. They are not grown in test tubes. They are experienced by individual people in particular situations. And our deepest understanding of these concepts is at the human level, to the ways they touch us personally and the people around us. Creating this human connection will give your poem a stronger emotional power for your reader, and it puts your idea in a form where you can observe it carefully and discover aspects of it that have never been described before. After choosing a topic, pre-write in prose. Take 10 minutes and jot down anything that comes to mind when you think of your subject. You need to write in lines. You can write in paragraphs, dash of bullet points, or even sketch out the mind map. The purpose of this exercise isn't to produce an outline. It's to generate a trove of raw material, a repertoire of loosely connected fragments to draw upon as you draft your poem in earnest. The most important part of this free write, not censoring yourself. Don't edit yourself out. Tell that inner critic to hash for now and jot it down anyway. Once your 10 minutes are up, take a look at what your free write produced. Chances are you've got a beautiful mess. Unruly metaphors, inarticulate emotions, sentences that trail off, but that's okay. There is a poem in there somewhere. Your next step, select the form of your poem. The form of your poem is the physical structure. It can have requirements for rhyme, line length, number of lines per stanza, etc. As we have studied before, different types of poems have its own structure. Should you write free verse or try following more specific rules like the rhyme pattern of a sonnet or the syllabic constraints of a haiku? For very experienced poets, formal aspects of poetry can become second nature, so that they sometimes know right away what form they want to use for a poem. This is probably not your situation. So just like my suggestion earlier, focus first on your subject and get all your ideas down on paper. Then once you've written down your ideas, start experimenting with the shape. Try organizing your poem in different ways and see what happens. Try shorter lines and longer ones. Try breaking the lines in various places and observe the effects. Most of the poets who have less experience in writing can compose what's called free stanza or free verse, which is a poem without a structure, or with a structure the writer has compensated for that particular piece. The best form for your poem will depend on what it is about and the mood and feelings you want to create in the reader. The length of the line can make the reader go faster or slower. Change the look of the poem on the page, focus attention on certain words. You may decide to incorporate other structural elements such as certain number of syllables per line, a regular meter, or a rhyme scheme. All of this should work with and contribute to the poem's meaning. Next, use imageries. The use of imagery as a literary device in your writing consists of descriptive language that can function as a way for the reader to better imagine the world of the piece of literature and also add symbolism to the work. Imagery draws on the five senses, namely the details of taste, touch, sight, smell, and sound. Imagery can also pertain to details about movement or a sense of a body in motion or the emotions or sensations of a person, such as fear or hunger. Using imagery helps the reader develop a more fully realized understanding of the imaginary world that the author has created. Also, you have to incorporate sound devices. The use of auditory effect in your piece will also give aesthetics to your work. It gives additional impact to the reader and helps him remember it. The use of figures of speech like alliteration, assonance, consonance, onomatopoeia, rhyme, and rhythm will surely help you utilize sound aesthetics well. Do not be so ordinary. Be unique to stand out. There are many cliches you want to avoid when writing poetry. Nothing really marks an amateur poet like cliches. A work full of cliches is like a plate of old food, unappetizing. Cliches like busy as bee and tired as dog, they all sound so familiar in a way that people can finish whole lines without even reading them. If they don't bother to read your poem, they certainly won't stop to think about it. If they do not stop to think about your poems, they will never encounter the deeper meanings that mark the work of an accomplished poet. So try to avoid cliche phrases. Go line by line and make your language as crisp and as original as you can. If there are phrases in your poem that seems like you've read or heard them before, try to reword it in order to make it more original. Also avoid abstractions. Concrete words describe the things that people experience with their senses, like orange, warm, cat. A person can see orange, feel warm, or hear a cat. A poem's concrete words helps the reader get a picture of what the poem is talking about. And when the reader has a picture of what the poem is talking about, then he or she can better understand the message of the poem. Abstract words refers to concepts or feelings like liberty, happy, love. Liberty is a concept, happy is a feeling, and no one can agree on whether love is a feeling, a concept, or an action. But anyway, a person can see, touch, or taste any of these things. As a result, when used in poetry, these words might simply fly over the reader's head without triggering any sensory response. Further, liberty, happy, and love can mean different things to different people. Therefore, if the poet uses such a word, the reader may take a different meaning from it than the poet intended. To avoid problems caused by using abstract words, use concrete words. For example, she felt happy. This line uses the abstract word happy. So to improve this line, change the abstract word to a concrete image. One way to achieve this is to think of an object or a scene that evokes feelings of happiness to represent the happy feeling. For example, her smile spread like red tint on ripening tomatoes. So this line uses two concrete images, smile and a ripening tomato. Describing the smile shows the reader something about happiness rather than simply coming right out and naming the emotion. Also, the symbolism of the tomato further reinforces the happy feelings. Red is frequently associated with love, ripening is a positive natural process, and food is further associated with being satisfied. Next, read your poem out loud. A good poem doesn't have to be pretty. Maybe an easy, melodic loveliness isn't your aim. It should, however, come alive on the page with a consciously crafted rhythm, whether hymn-like or discordant. To achieve that, read your poem out loud, at first line by line and then all together as a complete text. Trying out every line against your ear can help you weigh out a choice between synonyms, getting you to notice, say, the water sound of glacial, the brittleness of icy, the solidity of cold. Reading out loud can also help you troubleshoot line breaks that just don't feel right. Is the line unnaturally long, forcing you to rush it or pause in the middle for a hurried inhale? If so, do you like that destabilizing effect, or do you want to literally give the reader some room to breathe? And our final step, revise your poem. Revise, revise, revise. The first completed draft of your poem is only the beginning. Poets often go through several drafts of a poem before considering the work done. So how to revise? Put your poem away for a few days and then come back to it. When you reread it, does anything seem confusing? Hard to follow? Do you see anything that needs improvement that you overlooked the first time? Often, when you are in the act of writing, you may leave out important details because you are so familiar with the topic. So rereading a poem helps you to see it from an outsider's perspective of a reader. Also, show your poem to others and ask for criticism. Don't be content with a response like, "Yeah, that's a nice poem." You won't learn anything from that kind of response. Instead, find people who will tell you specific things you need to improve in your poem. Once you spend a little time perusing some poems and getting a sense of what you like and what speaks to you, the best way to start writing poems is to simply write a poem. If this seems easier said than done, or if the horror of the blank page feels too overwhelming, just give yourself a little nudge. Write about where you are and how you feel at this very moment, and look at the size and shape of poems that you love, considering, how can I do this too? I hope these tips can be useful when you start writing your poem. Thank you so much for watching, and happy writing!